Hey guys, here's a video from the dynamo from the fendt. It turned out it wasn't good, so I ordered some parts for it. You can get a refurbishment set for it. I've taken the liberty of taking the dynamo already apart and I've painted it. You have to watch out that you don't, if you paint an alternator, you don't paint the terminals, so I've covered them up. So you can get contact afterwards easily. And I had a big problem getting these bolts out from the field windings. They were pretty stuck. So I've got that. I've got a new can't remember what you call this in English for, but I will remember it later. I mean, I think it's a stator. That was along with the package for this Bosch dynamo, and I've painted the end caps. I still don't have taken these ones out. The brushes, they need to be taken out, and I've got new brushes for it. I've already installed the the bearing. It's a closed bearing, so there's grease inside. The old ones weren't. And here's the new bearing. Here are the new brushes, and here are the new field windings. So I'm gonna attempt to put this together again. Bear with me here, I'm gonna tape it all, and I hope you like it. Whenever I get involved in projects like this, the tools are all over the place. Whenever you're going to do something like this, I try to get a clean work surface so you don't lose all the nuts and bolts. I'm going to try that one later. When you pull back on the spring, then you pull the brush out. This one is a little bit stubborn. Right. There it went. Most of the time you're working on this old stuff, you're gonna have to be a little bit creative. And be careful not to demolish the heads of the screws, but that's not always possible. Now get this one out also. This is the positive terminal. This one, you can see it's isolated from the steel, and that one is connected to it, to the frame. So that's the negative terminal. So these old brushes are a little bit worn, but they were not too bad, I think. But the alternator was bad, so these come in with the package, and there are going to be also a few new ones in there. These jobs are pretty doable, but you need to take your time and remember where the parts were. Look if the terminals are clean, and these ones are. So I screw them right back on. Check if they're free to move. And the other one, I can see if they're, how much they were worn. And they were not much worn, just ever so slightly. But here it goes. There's the other one. And they're free of movement. They're easy movable, so I'm going to tighten them up. You can understand if the dynamo is turning that you don't want to lose these little screws in the dynamo. So there it is. 2 new brushes. Now we're going to look at the front of the alternator. It's a dynamo. I believe this went in like this. First the plate, and then the new bearing. These bearings are closed bearings, so you don't have to grease them. But I will use a little bit grease around it to get it in. maybe to stop it from rusting. Or whatever, it couldn't be bad to put some grease on there. So that went in pretty easily. Here's the front cover of it. I'm going to put some grease on that also. You never know what that's good for. But with the old bearings, these were pretty much full of grease. So that's the front one. And I'm going to put the screws back in. I wanted to show you this because there's not a lot of videos of this on YouTube. And maybe someone will enjoy it. And again, tighten these good and tight. And I believe this one went here. And I'm not sure. That's why it's important to remember the right way to put it in. So stupid, I don't remember. But I think it went like this. And you can see a little bit of discoloration on there. So I think it went there. It's exactly the same size of this ring. So you can always see a little bit like that. But it's not the right way. Maybe it's a great way to put it in the follow-ups, like 1, 2, 3, and begin with the pulley and then the ring and so and so. I think that's a better way, but I didn't do it. I have to see if that one is alright then also. It's probably just a grease barrier, I think. Maybe some grease on that too. Also there's a ring here for keeping the distance. Probably I have to use a little bit more force. But I just painted it, but I don't really care because I can paint it again a little bit. Maybe a piece of cloth on it. And then using a big socket to tap it on. Ever so slightly. You can use a hammer, of course, but let's see. Yeah, we got some movement. Didn't even damage the paint. Let's see if this goes alright. Doesn't go all the way. Don't want to damage the threads on it. Maybe a little bit a deeper socket. And I found one. Maybe I need to make a little bit of a hole in the cloth. I think that is easier. And it's on. Looks good. The paint too. Now some grease on this ring. Got a little bit too much grease. But some people say you never can have too much grease. Maybe a socket to get it on better. Maybe just a little bit of tapping. No. And I need another socket. See if this, yeah, that's going to work. The reason I don't use a hammer for this, probably you will hit it too hard. And yes, once upon a time I've got a wooden mallet for this, but I don't anymore. And then we got this poly that I didn't paint, but he can do that later, I think, when he's going to paint the whole tractor. But I thought it would be nice to do the alternator for him. It seems I have a little bit of a problem with this. There's a little piece of metal, we call it a SYB-B in the Netherlands. I don't know what you call it, but it seems to be, oh no, it fits. It's tightly, it's very snug. It keeps the pulley from turning loose freely on the axle. I'm going to tap that in. See, I've got a hammer. Now for some more grease. And the pulley. Once more with the socket on it. These sockets are just not functional. The little ring and the bolt. See if I can still turn this freely, and that's not the... No. So that's on too tight. I don't know why. It's probably a problem with the bearing. That's not how I wanted it to be. Let's see. Now I have to get it out again. Some things just have to be with trial and error. And now I have to get it off again. This is because it's of course not my daily job, but I think for everybody who's got a little bit insights of technical stuff, it is doable to refurbish an alternator. At least that's what I want to prove. And here we got the problem. Didn't plan to get this all off again. But I do this so you can learn from my mistakes. And I can learn from my mistakes. It's all pretty tight, but it's coming off. So there it is. I'm sorry, alternator or dynamo. No. I think the noise is from the ring. I think I bent it a little bit when I put on the pulley. It's probably not the best way of finding out that it didn't work that way. It's coming out pretty easily. So, what went wrong here? I think I know. I think this bearing belongs in there like that, and then the bushing wherever it is and this is why you need to keep a clean workbench. Because when it's even fuller, you won't find anything anymore. Okay. Now I believe this is for keeping out the grease. And it needs to be like this. Oh. Yeah, it seems to go on a lot better like this also.